The drawing you see here has been converted from VectorWorks, and I'd like to use it to illustrate some of the differences between VectorWorks and CADPlus and what issues might trip you up if you're making the transition from one to the other. Here's a symbol for Chrysocephalum apiculata, and I click it and notice that it highlights twice. This is VectorWorks' way of stamping and identifying multiple copies of the symbol in the drawing. But notice the attributes. CADPlus will display attributes, but we don't encourage people to use them because we think we have found a more robust way. In our hands, attributes are a little more difficult to work with than the mechanism that I'll show you in a moment. I mentioned a moment ago when selecting Chrysocephalum there, I thought that was their way of managing the number of instances of the symbol, but I've just noticed that over here and over here are more examples of the symbol. So when you're creating a plant schedule, I'm not quite sure how VectorWorks manages to take these two and then add two more. So there should be 4 in the plant schedule. It's going to take me a long time to come to terms with the differences, I think. So there's a lot of information here about the species, including the so-called schedule size, which I guess is we'll term that as pot size. But let's look at the same sort of symbol, and it's a block called Chrysocephalum apiculata, of course, desert flame. The same here. If we stretch this out, it is the same name, of course, yellow buttons and so on. So let me move everything back. The way that this is labelled interests me. You can see a fairly complex coding system here, 2 CHAPDF. Okay, so the first 2 characters of the generic name are being used, CH, then the 2 characters of the species name, then the plant registered plant's name, DF. So there's a system to it. We also have a system with our version of that symbol, yellow buttons. We again use the first 2 characters of the generic name and then the 2 characters of the species, but mostly we use all uppercase for that. Our mechanism for labeling it is to use a command we grandly call a smart label tool, and if we hit the 2 symbols here, we're then asked to enter for the next step, and we're asked, do we want a leader or a line? So let's go with a leader. And we hit enter. First point for the label, let's just imagine that we're going to label here and there. Enter for the next step. What height are you going to use? Do you want to pick up the code? Or we do in this case. Do you want to pick up the botanical name? No, we don't. Common name? No, we don't. Do you want to pick up a count? Just say yes. So in goes the label. It should have an arrow head on it, but this is done with, it uses the current leader option, and I imagine I would then have to get in here and just change the dimension style. At least here only the 1, so the geometry 2.5 is too small. We need around about 100 for that. And if we try it again with an ounce of luck, smart label, we'll just pick the 1 this time. Leader. We want the code? Yes, we do. Botanical name. In fact, I'll say yes now, and yes for the common name, yes for the count, and it pops up all the information that we wanted and puts it in a piece of M-text, multi-line text, so we can, the common name is yellow buttons, maybe we want another line in here, and there we are. We like this because it's very easy to move things around, very easy to set the justification depending on where you're trying to label in the design. So from our point of view, click on the symbol, you get information here, and there's the plant label, this time with an arrowhead. And we asked for the number, so clearly we only tagged 1 to start with. So I thought I'd just pass that on. I'm sure with VectorWorks you can make it sing and dance and do whatever. CADPlus is a simpler program. Rather than a complex database that you saw here for that species, we would jump from here into we'd go from tools to our plant database, which we call SPPDB, and then we would open a sample. Whoops, of course I've already got it open. So I would switch to it, and there we are. We've got Chrysocephalum apiculatum, and I'm starting to add information. So we can record the height and the width, plant type. It's obviously a ground cover. We can put our codes in. Very easy to make our own code. This is designed for you to put codes. There's no restriction pretty much on the way you use it. So it's free flowing and change. So we don't have a code for that particular one. So we can say code, we'll add a new record. We want Chrysocephalum apiculatum desert flame, and we can add it and then close once it's in. There we are. And we apply the updates. So there's an awful lot that we can do with it. We can add multiple images, not just the one image. So I'm trying to illustrate most programs are excellent programs. Well, we are biased. We think this is an excellent one, but it just works in a totally different way. And if you are making the transition, it is going to take some time. Well, I just noticed one other difference. If we pick the symbol that we use and look at its scale as a scale of 1, and we use the distance command, and we measure from one side of our symbol to the other, it's about 0.5 meter. If we look at this one, this is the one from the VectorWorks environment, and it has a scale of 1. So its distance, it's nearly 1 meter in diameter. We try, not always successfully, when we're making symbols, to size them in the database or in the symbol library at about their true size. So we would argue that these here, let me just copy it from there. We were trying to change the story a little bit from there, and then we'll take those out and move over here. We copy that one again in here, probably put 2 or 3 in that zone there. And there are the 4 in there now. We've been told time and time again, use odd numbers. So there's an odd number. So we've just changed the size, if you like, of that. Maybe that's easy to change in the VectorWorks environment as well.